Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're just going to take it another minute so that people can log on. And then we will get started. So we do want to be respectful of your time and your interest. Yeah, thank you. Hope everybody's having a good, it's almost September. I don't know about you all, but I definitely noticed the change in traffic this morning. Okay.
It's 1:03.
Yep. So
And we're delighted to see all of you here interested in the Innovation Fund. I just saw my colleague come in. I want to welcome everybody to this information session, and I hope that by the end of the session, we will be able to answer all your questions. Thank you so much for your interest in the Fairfax County Health and Human Services Innovation Fund. My name is Norma Lopez. I'm with the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. This is the agency in Fairfax County responsible for monitoring this fund. Before we have an opportunity to introduce ourselves, but in the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in the chat by putting your name and email address. We probably have a little bit of time just to introduce myself as I did before we begin with a presentation. Patricia and Sarah.
Good afternoon. Yes. Thank you again for, as Norma said, for joining us. We really appreciate your interest. We're excited to see all of you here. I am Patricia Riaza. I am the Community Resource Development Unit Manager with the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. And any messages that you get around this will probably be coming from me. So hello. And Sarah?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Sarah Allen, Neighborhood and Community Services. I'm one of the deputy directors, and it is great to see many of you. I know many of your faces and names, and look forward to hearing your questions and giving more information about this exciting funding opportunity.
Yeah. We've prepared a presentation for you on some around the purpose of the fund, as well as some guidance towards the application. So as soon as we sort of fill the chat with some of our introductions, and I'm sorry we don't have enough time to go around the room because right now we have 62 people. So we'll give it a little bit more minute, and then we can, Patricia could begin with the presentation, and feel free to ask any questions as we go along. If not, we're left enough time at the end of the presentation. There'll be plenty of time for questions and answers. So Patricia.
Okay. I will be sharing my screen, so please, hopefully, I hope everybody can see that. So again, this is the information session for the Health and Human Services Innovation Fund pilot. So again, thank you for your interest. Okay, so the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has allocated up to $200,000 to the Health and Human Services Innovation Fund pilot. As I think we're all aware, with its quality school system, low unemployment rate, and high medium income, Fairfax County is known around the country for being a good place to live. However, we also realize that despite being one of those wealthiest communities in the country, not all county residents share in this prosperity. So there are disparities and poverty throughout the county. With the understanding that no single organization can solve any major social problem by itself, this fund encourages businesses and nonprofits to partner to design programs which positively impact the well-being of county residents. This one-time seed funding will be provided to projects designed to impact the economic and social well-being. I'm sorry, I'm also letting people in. The social well-being by addressing barriers such as employment, housing, food, mobility, childcare, digital access, environment, to name a few, through market-driven strategies with a social impact. So programs focusing on vulnerable communities, as evidenced by the vulnerability indices, may be prioritized, as well as those showing cross-sector partnerships. So again, the business and community-based organizations partnering together. So for the next bullet point, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Sure. Again, good afternoon again, everyone. I apologize, Patricia, I lost where you were. You want me to talk about the funding pool, correct?
Yes, the last bullet with the yes.
Sure. Okay. There are other funding sources for nonprofits throughout the Fairfax County. And so we just wanted to take a minute to describe to you what's different about this innovation fund versus the consolidated community funding pool. So as you all know, the CCFP, the Consolidated Community Funding Pool, is for nonprofit organizations, 501c3s, and it is on a 2-year cycle. So that's one difference. Innovation Fund is going to be a 1-year cycle. The CCFP programs need to be connected to the Board of Supervisor approved categories. And those categories, of course, are listed on the CCFP website. The Consolidated Community Funding Pool will be launched in September. I don't have an exact date for you yet, but that process also does not have a cap in terms of how much money each proposal can go for. This funding source is a maximum of and Patricia talked about it's either 50,000 or 25,000, and we only have about 200,000 for this this innovation fund. So those are some of the differences. Nonprofits who apply for this fund can also apply for the funding pool. However, your program cannot be the same, of course. It can work to enhance what you may be doing for the funding pool, but it needs to be separate and apart. And it cannot be for the exact same purpose. So if you have any questions about the differences between the funding pool and the Innovation Fund, you can reach out to myself, Sarah Allen, Patricia, of course, and Norma, and we would be glad to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So again, I already mentioned some of these areas. So when we think of ways in which we can help an individual's economic well-being, we may naturally think of employment or workforce development. But an individual's economic and social well-being can be positively impacted through a number of different areas. So for example, perhaps ensuring that someone has access to digital resources like a computer or an internet connection can help them become more engaged within their community, or it allows them the ability to take an online class. So again, that's just one example. When you consider the needs of your community and how you can develop a program or a project to meet those needs, addressing one or a combination of the elements on this slide can certainly make an impact on that economic and social well-being. So you have quite a broad range of areas where you can look to as you develop your project or program. So the projects and programs that you will be developing for this funding stream will have their own individual goals, and you will provide that information in your proposal. So what you were seeing here on the screen, these are our system level goals for the Innovation Fund pilot. So we are wanting to, with this funding, we are wanting to attract new business to zip codes with high vulnerability scores. We're wanting to foster those partnerships between nonprofits and small businesses. And we also want to increase the opportunities for residents to improve their economic status. So the eligibility requirements, Fairfax County So programs must serve residents in Fairfax County, and Fairfax County includes the towns of Herndon, Vienna, and Clifton. The cities of Falls Church and the city of Fairfax are separate jurisdictions and therefore are not eligible for this funding cycle. So small businesses and nonprofits, that does include colleges and universities. So we do want to make sure that, we highlight that, registered with all required federal, state, and local entities, including the Fairfax County Department of Tax Administration, are eligible. Programs must provide evidence of sustainability or liquidity within the previous 2 years to demonstrate capacity to deliver and sustain the proposed project or program. So you will have to include financial statements for the previous 2 years in order to help us understand that there is capacity to deliver the proposals that you are submitting. Although it's not required, a lead or sole applicant that is certified with the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity will receive extra points in the evaluation process. So, and then again, for proposals for new projects are encouraged. And as Sarah mentioned, projects currently funded by any Fairfax County funding stream can be considered for expansion, but again, that has to be a separate from any other program that you may be looking to fund through other county means. So again, if you are seeking funds to expand an existing program or a project, your proposal must clearly describe that expansion and how it meets the application criteria and how that expansion will be sustained without county funding in the future. So a proposal that indicates, for example, that it will use innovation funds to increase the number of people being served in an existing program, and that plans to sustain that expansion through, let's say, county funds gained through the CCFP, wouldn't meet the criteria for this funding. So hopefully that's clear. I'm happy to, answer any questions about that later if you'd like. So now we're going to go into the actual application component. So, we've got, you can see here on the slide, pretty much the standard components of the application. I'll go a little bit into each section. So we've got the cover page, and that's just basically where you would put your standard information, organization name, address, that kind of thing. This is where you also would designate whether you are submitting a joint proposal or a sole applicant proposal. So if you are partnering with another organization, you do not need to supply us with 2 applications. It would just be 1 application, but you would indicate who you are working with on that cover page. The project overview, so that would include the name of your project, your total project budget, and whether you're requesting $25,000 or $50,000 from the Innovation Fund. So we do want to see your entire cost for the project, not just what you're requesting from the Innovation Fund. We also would like to see a description of the barriers or challenges that you are hoping to address with this proposal, and a brief description of the social impact project or program. So that would be really high level, just a few sentences about your proposal description. So again, you will go into much more detail in the other areas of the proposal of the application. For your programmatic impact section, this is where you will describe your target population, indicate which zip codes the program or the project will cover, the number of participants that you expect to serve, and how the project or program will contribute to the economic mobility of the population to be served, and also, again, how you will be measuring that impact. In the equity section, you will indicate your understanding of the One Fairfax policy. One Fairfax policy is a joint racial and social equity policy adopted by the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors and the school board. So that policy, One Fairfax, commits the county and schools to intentionally consider equity when making policies or delivering programs and services. So in the application, you will find links to an introductory video. It's about 30 minutes. So we really, and a link to the policy. So you really are advised to watch and read the video and the policy before answering the equity questions. It really will help you to understand sort of the context that Fairfax County is living in when talking about equity. So proposals will identify the One Fairfax policy areas that are related to the proposed project or program, and how data has been used to understand the inequities in the county and the areas you wish to serve, and how that And especially important is how the perspectives of the clients or households have been included in the program project design and delivery. So we are really wanting to see that you have communicated with your community, that you have gotten that information, that those voices are being included as you develop a proposal. So for your organizational experience, this is where you would include a list of all the staff that will operate the project or the program. We want to see titles, just a brief description of the position, doesn't have to be very long, but just enough to give us a sense of what that position is and what they will be doing for this project, whether they are full or part-time, and also how much time they will be devoting to this project. And sustainability, as we have mentioned, this is a one-time seed funding. So proposals will need to include a description of how the project or program will be sustained beyond that initial seed funding, and a project or program timeline with key activities and benchmarks that are supported by these funds. And as I mentioned before, this is where also you will be including those financial statements for the previous 2 years. And then finally, for that will be the budget. There is an Excel spreadsheet provided, so please again detail the total project costs for each budget category, itemize the expenses that will be incurred. You can add rows if that's necessary to the spreadsheet. And then if you feel that you want to include some additional details to give us a better picture of that budget, please feel free to include a brief supplemental budget narrative. Just please note that a maximum of 40% of the requested funds can be used for administrative cost or overhead. So that means that a minimum of 60% will be used for direct service costs. So in terms of the process, again, we are here today for the informational session. The application was made available on Monday, August 21. So that is already on the website for you to look and download. The application deadline is September 20th at 4 p.m. And we will be reviewing those submitted proposals between September 25th and October 13th with an expectation of sending out award letters towards the end of the month in October. So again, here is the link for the application. Hopefully you have been on the website and you have taken a look at that application form. As I mentioned, the deadline is 4 p.m. on September 20th. Please make sure that you get those in by 4 p.m. We will not be accepting any applications beyond that date or that time. And you will be submitting your completed applications to this email address that you see online on the screen. You will be getting a notification or verification that your application has been received. So if you do not get that email notification, please get in touch with me either through this, again, NCS Resource Development at fairfaxcounty.gov or my personal email address, work address. I will, send that along or put that on the screen as well. It's rare that emails kind of go out into the void. But we don't want you to miss out on this opportunity just because of a technical glitch. So if you know that you sent your application, at 2 p.m. on September 18th and you haven't gotten an email from me that we have gotten it, again, please do follow up. And now, yes, so now we have time for any questions. Norma, Sarah, and myself are here to answer questions. And if we are not able to provide you with the question, we will note it and send it out to the group and also post it to the website. So we want to make sure that everybody has the same information, and any kind of updates that we have to the fund or application or any kind of FAQ amendment that needs to be done, they will be added to the website. So do make sure that you check back just to kind of make sure that you have the most up-to-date information before you submit your application. Okay, so I will stop sharing.
Patricia, before you stop sharing,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, it looked like you may have skipped a slide. Will you go back and make sure?
Oh,
sure. It felt like you did, but I also could have looked away. Go back maybe 2 slides.
Yeah, let me move I think, yeah, so this is information that we'll cover once,
Oh, got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just a quick, there will be technical assistance and we
Thank
will
you.
work with you, to, help you along as appropriate and as needed. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
And Patricia, do you want to do the chat questions first or take hands?
We can do, why don't you take, yeah, we'll take hands and then I'll take a look at what's in the chat as well. So, am I seeing, let's see. Or you can just unmute yourself. That's fine too. If you have a question that you want to ask. I'm looking at the chat. So we've got a question about whether the presentation and recording will be available after the meeting. Yes, we will be posting it to the website, so people will have an opportunity to check it out. What is the period of time? So if awarded in October, so you will have, it's basically the fiscal year. So from the time that you get your award letter to June 30th of 2024 is the period of time that the funds will need to be spent. Said cross-sector partnerships between nonprofits and small businesses are prioritized. What about between two nonprofits? Yes, that would be acceptable as well. So this would, again, the funds will need to be spent. The question was, can this be for a one-year project only, or do you prefer projects that will continue after the grant period? We do want to see the projects continue. So that's where that sustainability plan would be important. And we would want to see the project move on beyond this funding. It says, to clarify, we do not need a financial audit in order to be eligible. We don't need your financial audit, but we do want to see your financial statements. So fine distinction, but yes, we will need to see financial statements for the previous 2 years. Again, it says, just to be clear, you said that expansion to programs currently funded by Fairfax County would be permissible. Yes, so if you have a project or program that is currently funded by Fairfax County, that would be fine, except again, the expansion has to be a separate layer, like a new component of that existing project. So if you are requesting funds for an existing program without making any changes or making any adding another layer or service to that project, then that would not meet the requirements. It says making sure that Fairfax City is excluded. In the past, Falls Church is excluded, never seen Fairfax City. Yes, that is correct. And Norma and Sarah can help me out, but yes, that is Fairfax City is excluded.
And this all goes back to, this is just two quick things on that. One, I wanted to also make sure we remind people that this really is about innovation and doing things differently than we ever had. The Human Services Council was the group that created this many years ago, albeit we did not have a mechanism to be able to have people apply. And so that's why it's just starting now. But this innovation and their ideas about it being an innovative new thing beyond other funding sources is where this came from. The funding source and the exclusion or inclusion of the cities has been something we've been researching. So I'm going to just put a pin there and we will clarify for sure and put it in writing. The piece around Fairfax City and Falls Church City, it is based on funding sources, so that's why it has changed throughout the year. So we will do a QA back to you on that one.
The next question, it says, would working with places of worship count as a cross-sector partnership? So places of worship typically are nonprofits. So if you are working with a place of worship and you are a business, then yes, that would count as a cross-sector partnership. Is there a word limit to the narrative? No, there is not. You will see it is a PDF form. So as I understand it, I don't think there is a limit. We have set it so that you can be, you can provide us with as much information as you feel is needed to help us understand your project. So if you experience any issues with the PDF, please do let me know. It says open to religious organizations. Again, those tend to be, I believe, nonprofits. So yes, they would be open. The application is open to those groups. Where can I find the programs already funded by Fairfax County? This one are you asking, maybe JC Luna, just a little clarification. Are you asking about community-based organizations that are already funded, or are you perhaps asking for the other funding streams that are provided by the county?
What I want to know is if I am submitting a proposal, maybe I'm duplicating efforts. And maybe somewhere in some part there is some hidden project that is already funded, and well, my innovation is not really an innovation, or maybe I can add a layer to whatever they are doing. So where is that information available? I mean, is there a website or some place where I can take a look at that?
This is a pilot, so this is the first time we have released these funds for this purpose. And so we were not able to provide you with that information because this is the first. So we would encourage people to submit, and we will then review the applications and then take it from there. But you view yourselves as a pioneer to this innovation fund.
All right, thank you very much. I will try to do my own research because obviously there has to be something in there, but thank you. Thank you.
And if you identify what exact area you would probably specialize in, then give us a call because we could probably guide you in the right direction. But a curriculum or a type of program specifically, it's probably pretty unlikely that you'd be the exact same program, but you can absolutely call us and we can work directly with you too.
Okay, thank you.
So there was a question, can you please restate the areas that are included and excluded? So again, the areas that are included in the Fairfax, when we talk about Fairfax County, is the towns of Herndon, Vienna, and Clifton. And what we have currently right now excluded are the cities of Falls Church and the cities of Fairfax. But again, as Sarah mentioned just a few minutes ago, we will double check on that and get back to, we will put it up on the website should there be a change in those areas covered. Let's see, question, can the nonprofit partner be a PTA? Again, if the PTA is designated as a 501c3, then yes, that would be that would be considered a nonprofit. How many awards will be offered and for how much? Our total is $200,000, so we will have a total of 6 awards, 2 for $50,000 and 4 for $25,000. Let's see, the next question, would acceptable expansion include equipment for a new and innovative activity and an existing program? So again, yes, I mean, if you you provide us with that information, you explain, very distinctly and clearly how that expansion is innovative and how it's different from what you are already currently, being funded, then we will definitely take a look at that and see how it falls through with all of the other requirements. But yes, it would be, you could definitely put in an application for that. Let's see, there is, on the application, there is a possibility to include more data than the physical space allows. A scroll bar appears on the PDF to scroll further down. Will applications require that the text content fit exactly into the box provided? Or is it possible to fill the entire space that is provided, including the scroll bar space? Thank you for looking at the application and for that question. Yes, you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can put in as much information as you think is, is needed to help us understand your proposal. We will be using that scroll bar option. We will be able to look at everything that you put into that box, not just what's visible on the screen. So, go ahead and fill that box up. Thank you for that question. It says, is it possible to submit more than one proposal if the programs are not related in any way? Sure, yes, that would be fine. If a proposal believes that it can provide services to the entire county, is that type of platform preferred, or is it more desired to have a program address the highest risk community specifically? Sarah, can I send this over to you?
Sure. When talking about economic mobility and aspects of some barriers that people face, it would probably it would be more likely and probably a higher scoring application for you to think about a high-risk community. However, sometimes because of economies of scale, sometimes because the way that your organization is built, that you might be wanting the program to be eligible to everyone. However, you might target outreach to vulnerable communities. So I'd ask you to go back and think about that on your own, but we are trying to ensure, now we all recognize that throughout the entire community, there are pockets of vulnerability, obviously, everywhere, but we do want to see how can we make an impact on those vulnerable communities. So I would say, please try to have it be more targeted and specific to high-risk communities. But again, it also depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. And if it's a website, for example, you'd be able to benefit many more people, but perhaps your outreach would be focused in schools or in daycare centers or something like that in more vulnerable communities. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, let me stop there. And Norma, do you have anything else you'd add?
No, you said it well.
Okay.
And we have another question. Are proposals that serve only Fairfax County preferred, or are possible national initiatives given higher priority? So they will not be given a higher priority, but yes, if you, again, as I think that also follows through with what Sarah just mentioned, we are not, you are not ineligible if you have a national initiative, but we do again want to see that connection to the community. We want to see how the local business is embedded in the community and working with community members to identify the challenge or the problem to be solved, and then working to develop the solution. So if you can, if there's a national initiative that can be drilled down to that hyper local level that we're hoping to see, then sure, that that is perfectly acceptable.
And again, as presented by Patricia earlier, it has to benefit Fairfax County employees. So you're targeting either communities, a particular target population, a neighborhood, or something, or that is of the county residents. So think about it from that perspective. Whatever you can pull out from a national perspective that is specifically targeting one particular community, 2 or 3 in Fairfax County, or a segment of a population, or a segment of a neighborhood or community, particularly to have boost the economic mobility of that community, that will fit.
And Ms. Jones, you have a question?
Yes, I do. The question is just about locale. So we have a for-profit and a nonprofit business that are going to collaborate in this innovation. The company is Fairfax County based, and we do the trainings and some of the workforce apprenticeships that we're going to provide are there. But our facility where we do some of the tech innovation training is in Arlington. Is that still permissible? Because Fairfax and Arlington are close, it can still serve both, or should we try to have everything that we do housed in the Fairfax County location?
Well, again, we are asking for Fairfax County residents to be served. So you would have to, in your proposal, you would have to explain to us or describe to us how you will be able to, keep that data to capture that you are serving Fairfax County residents.
Yeah, so we'll be recruiting. Yeah. We'll be recruiting participants for our program from Fairfax County. They'll definitely serve Fairfax County residents, but I just wanted to know about the innovation lab because there's some resources for the program that we're going to propose that are not in Fairfax County. And I just want to be sure that's permissible, or to know if we need to make some adjustments. Some of our work is hybrid and virtual, but there are some technology parts that are best in person, and the facility is in Arlington.
Sure. And again, again, just very, top level, I think, again, describing to us how you would get the folks over there and just
absolutely
all of that.
That was exactly our transporting, onto site when we need to be there. So thank you. Thank you. I thought it was easier to ask than to try to type all of that.
That's all
Thank you.
right. Well, that's why we have the options. So it
Thank
says, the next question, what if the program award is not completely spent during the award year? Is there any punitive action that happens to the awardee? Obviously, we would return it, just wondering how that would be handled. No, I mean, you would just, when we do the final closing, we would see if there is any funds, if there are any funds left over, and that would just get returned to the county. But obviously, Sarah, please correct me if I'm wrong. We are not in the business of punishing folks for working with us and helping our community. So we would.
And we will be in touch during the process about how you're doing, making sure that, everything's working. And so our technical assistants would be able to support you in that way. So we would both know if the money is not being able to spend and be spent and why. So we will work with you. Absolutely.
Okay. We've got another question. Can we attach graphics, Excel spreadsheet, PDF, or everything should be in the application form? If there are documents that you feel that would help us understand your program, do feel free to attach them, but do reference it in your application so that we know that we are looking for supplemental information materials. What is the phone number and email address after this meeting for us to follow up with you all? Again, that is the email address would be the NCS Resource Development of fairfaxcounty.gov. My phone number, I'll give you a quick second to either type it or get a pen pencil. My phone number is 703-324-8241. So either a phone call or an email would be, feel free to reach out and ask questions. Let's see. What are the program requirements for keeping funds and submitting accounts of how the funds were applied during the course of the fiscal year? Sarah, would you?
Sure. What we'll do is we do not have, we're not going to go into too much depth about reporting requirements and things like that now. So please submit your application. And if you're selected, we will have a pretty intensive work session with you about what's required and so forth. We probably could do a general overview and a Q&A about what will be required. We can get that from our financial manager, but no, you will absolutely get training afterwards once you're selected. I don't believe we're trying to make this as low barrier as possible. We want to make sure that no one is discouraged from funding, from applying and getting this funding. So it's not going to be as comprehensive as some of the other things that we have, contracts that we have. So I hope it wouldn't be a barrier for anyone applying, but I do think we can write a summary for you and you'll get trained if you're selected.
Thank you. The next question, do all ideas have to be new or can they be old ideas that are simply not being offered in an underserved area? That is a good question. Again, I go back to your proposal and you showing us or talking to us about why those ideas were are no longer being supported. How you think that you could pick them back up and have a positive impact on community residents. I don't think just because it's a quote unquote an old idea that necessarily would rule you out. But again, this is where you would use that proposal to tell us about what maybe went wrong or what happened, just to give us a sense of why this would be a good proposal to fund again. So we're in that show don't tell, that axiom that we used to get back in school. And let's see, do we need a financial audit to apply again? Oh,
I can take that one. I think many of your question around financial audit is related to what happens in the funding pool where we require a formal audit. So we will do a Q&A answer for you guys on this to make sure that you have it in writing what we're asking, because I do recognize that is a requirement, right, Patricia, in the CCFP process. So we'll get you that answer from our Department of Procurement and Material Management as part of the Q&A.
Thank you. All right, so the next one, there is a section in the application that refers to what data applicants used to justify their proposals. However, some of this data may come from widely public sources, such as Washington Post articles, or using public data on the framework for inclusive community engagement. Is higher preference given to original studies, or is a holistic public approach considered equally viable? Whatever data you have, that whether it's qualitative or quantitative, that again, that gives us a clear understanding of what that the challenge is and how you're going to solve it. That is what we will take, you know, obviously, again, sourced, right? But we are not going to be giving weight to, you know, the Washington Post versus what you have heard from your community focus groups or what you're hearing from your community resource sources. So thank you for the question.
One thing for that, but it would be good to use a combination of both the quantitative data from research as well as information you've gathered qualitative from the community. You don't have to do a heavy research and then have, you know, several citations on research that was done, and that's not what but a combination of a few of the research and qualitative will do just fine, as long as it supports your argument in the problem statement.
Next question, is the vulnerability index by block group important? Our venue is just in the low group, but our target high and very high blocks which surround our venue. I don't, Sarah,
Yeah, I could speak to that. Remember, it is less in this situation, if I'm understanding your question clearly, where you're physically located is of note, but who you're serving is even more important. And so if you're indicating that the target population that you have does have a higher score in the vulnerability index, which we will include in the FAQs, by the way, if we haven't already, then that's really what you need to articulate, is that the people that you're serving, albeit coming to a lower number, or I might be flipping it, but basically it's who you're serving, not so much where you're serving them, is what we're concerned with. And what we're hoping is happening is that you're being able to impact residents that have a very high vulnerability index in this situation. If that doesn't answer your question, please feel free to contact us directly or write another question in the chat.
Yeah, and just to add to what Sarah's saying, so there's various vulnerability index throughout Fairfax County, but let's say you're targeting a population for, let's say, McLean, which may not fall within the vulnerability index, and you're serving a population in need through this program, that qualifies. You don't have to be within that vulnerability index. So.
Okay, so how much is the total fund for this program? Again, the total that we have available is $200,000, and we are going to have 6 awards, 2 for $50,000 and 4 for $25,000. Says according to the slide, it is all reimbursement of funds spent versus paid up front. Is that correct? Again, I think I'll refer back to something that Sarah has said. For those financial questions, we will follow up just to make sure that we are giving you the most accurate information, and that will be posted to the Innovation Fund webpage. So we are, I'll take a note of your question and we will respond to that. Says the last one is, we are a nonprofit community arts center. Can we apply? We attract all members of our community. Again, you are a nonprofit, so that is, you are eligible for the application. We just go back to the proposal. You would use the proposal to help us understand what innovative project or program you would be providing to your community members, Fairfax County residents. All right, those are all the questions that are in the chat. I don't know if maybe folks have others that we haven't gotten to, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question. If not, then we will again, thank you very much for your interest. If something occurs to you that was not covered during today's conversation, again, you have their email address. Thank you to the person who put my contact information in the chat. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Patricia, I think there's a couple of more questions.
Oh, okay.
When we provide services to the community in Fairfax County,
Yes.
can the service does the service have to be in person, or could it be virtual?
Again,
Provided.
You would again, you would have to just help us understand or help us understand how you're going to document that it's Fairfax County residents, but how you deliver your services would be is how you design your project. So that would not rule it out. Says on the first section of the application, are the 6 categories of group identification required of the application only, or is it acceptable if senior members identify with those groups as well? I believe you're talking about whether when we're asking if an organization is like, let's say, for women owned or minority owned, you would select as many of those categories as is applicable to your organization. I'm not sure I'm understanding your second part of the question. Is it acceptable if senior members identify with those groups? Senior members of your employees of the organization? Tim, could you clarify a little bit for that for us? I don't know if he perhaps left.
Yeah, and maybe Tim, if you can hear us and you can't jump off mute, please feel free to email us that. Oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Senior members meaning any executive members with discretionary authority. I think Sarah, can I defer to you?
Yeah, I would say, let's just handle that offline. I think we understand what you mean, but in terms of whomever is applying, it is possible that it's any level of the organization. And then I thought you were referring to senior as in a population you're serving seniors. So let's definitely connect offline, and you can email Patricia and we can work through your question.
Another question, Patricia, is the funding period.
Yes, so no worries. I know it's a lot of information to take in. So yes, you're correct. It would be, the funding period would be October through June of 2024. Okay. Okay. All right, so again, if there are no more questions, just a reminder, we will, this recording will be made available on the Innovation Page website. We will be going through these questions that were asked, typing them up and making them available as an FAQ also on the website. And I am available to you to ask, to talk to you about the program if you'd like. Please know any questions that come to me via email or through the phone will also be typed up and sent and posted to the Innovation Page website. Obviously, if it's more, yes, in the aggregate. So there won't be any there won't be any detailed information, but I will extrapolate whatever information is helpful to the community at large, and those will be posted to the website. We do want to make sure that we are providing the same information to the group whenever possible. So do you have any idea how many applications you will receive? No, this is, again, we've mentioned, as Sarah mentioned earlier, and Norma, this is the first time we've done this. This is our pilot endeavor. So we're hoping a lot, but we don't know. So this is something that we are very curious to see. We're very excited about the number of people that have joined us today. So that was fantastic. Do you have any idea of the timeline? The information would be posted to the website. We have there's not a very big window, so we will endeavor to get this up, within the next business day or so. So you can expect to see that in a couple of days, not very long. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. Again, we're really excited to see all these fantastic faces, and we're excited to see your proposals, and looking forward to hearing from you all. Thank you very much for your time.
Bye, Patricia. Bye, Sarah. Bye, Norma.
Thank you.